Signs that your ex will come back. Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach, and today I'm talking about the signs that your ex will come back. But before we get into this video, please leave a like on it and please do subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you have anything you would like me to discuss in a future video, then please do leave it down in the comments. Or if you have any tips or advice yourself, also leave those down in the comments so we can all help each other out. Thank you so much. So the first sign that your ex is much more likely to come back is when your happiness is no longer dependent on them coming back. And what I mean by this is, often when we have a breakup, we are very irrational and we're very highly emotional as well. And what tends to happen when we are in these highly emotional states and we are caring basically way too much about the situation, we tend to make mistakes. And those mistakes might be breaking no contact, contacting them a lot, or saying something hurtful to the ex. We do all these irrational things that we are doing based on our emotions. So if you can get yourself to a place where you don't care as much, where your happiness no longer depends on whether or not they come back, you're much less likely to do these mistakes. And basically what happens when you make these kinds of mistakes is it makes that person less likely to come back. So if you're messaging them a lot, if you are apologizing too much, if you are going above and beyond to try and get them back, you are more likely actually putting them off you. But if you don't do those things, it's much more likely that they will come back because you're not making these mistakes. You're not making these emotional outbursts. So it's more likely that they're going to come back when you have started to care a lot less about them coming back and your happiness is no longer dependent on them coming back. So this means no more leaving sad quotes on your social media. This means not getting drunk with your friends and then accidentally phoning them up in the middle of the night, or messaging them too much, or doing sneaky ways basically to try and reach out to them. Because you might be thinking, well, I'm not sending them messages saying, I miss you. I'm only saying, hey, how are you? But your ex isn't stupid. When you are saying something innocuous to them, when you're saying something simple like, hey, how are you? You're still displaying interest in them. They can still tell that they are on your mind. Because you wouldn't be messaging them. They know that you wouldn't be messaging them if they weren't on your mind. So they know that you miss them if you are messaging them, if you are doing these sneaky little things to try and get their attention, to try and get them to talk to you. So you really, really do need to not be attached to the outcome anymore. You really must not be attached to them coming back. Because if you are attached, you are going to make mistakes and you are going to push them away. So you do really need to get to this point of inner peace about the situation in order for them to come back, which sounds like a paradox, I know, but it's so true and it really does work. But I'm not going to say that it works definitely. I'm not going to say that it works 100% of the time, because for whatever reason, this ex of yours might have lost interest so much that there's no way that they will ever come back. So the next sign that your ex is going to come back is if they actually contact you. So if they are sending you messages like, hey, how are you? They might not directly ever say to you, I miss you, or I want you back. They may do it in a other kind of roundabout way, which is saying something like, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? Basically asking about your life. And if they are sending you these messages, just asking you about how you're doing, how your life is going, then that's a sign that they are actually still interested in you and they do want to actually come back into your life. Now, however, if they message you and they say something like, when can I pick up my stuff? That's obviously not them wanting you back. That's a sign that they are trying to finalize things. So if they say anything like that, or anything in regards to trying to finalize things, trying to get things done, trying to get things over with, like collecting their stuff, then that's not a sign that they want to get back with you. But if they're just asking about you in general, just like, hey, how are you? And they're not mentioning anything about finalizing things, then that's more of an indication that they want to come back into your life. Another sign that your ex is likely to come back is if they are kind of sneakily trying to put themselves, or maybe not so sneakily, into your orbit. So they might be hanging around with your friends, your mutual friends together more often. They might be, you might hear from a mutual friend that they've been asking about you. That's a sign that they are wanting you back and they're very interested in what you're doing. So if they're asking like mutual friends what you've been up to, and they've kind of recalled back to you like, oh, so your ex was talking to us today and they want to know how you are and things like that. So if they're ever trying to sneakily put themselves back into your orbit some way, then that's a sign that they're interested in you and they want to get back with you. So if your ex is doing any of these things, if they are showing the signs that they want to get back with you, then one of the good things for you to do is to actually not do anything. And the reason why you don't want to do anything is because, again, you might make a silly mistake and you might put them off you. So if you're really serious about them coming back, you have to wait for them to come back to you at their own pace. And them coming back to you at their own pace might be them messaging you saying, hey, how are you? And if they're saying things like, hey, how are you? And they're trying to get to know you, want to see how you're doing, then it's your job then to move things a little bit more forward. So if they're just asking about you, how you've been up to and stuff like that, you should say to them something like, oh, I'm doing fine. When would you like to meet up? It would be fun to have a catch up one day. When are you free to have some coffee? And then just wait and see what they say. Because if they have to keep on initiating contact with you and you are not moving things forward, then eventually they will just give up and they'll stop talking to you. And that's a mistake I see people do. You know, their exes, they get their exes are interested again. The ex is sending them messages like, hey, what have you been up to? How have you been these days? And then the person who wants the ex back isn't doing anything to facilitate getting together. So another point that I want to make though is make sure that you are getting back with your ex for the right reasons. And usually if a breakup has happened, you know, you're supposed to really stay broken up. However, if this was just like a miscommunication thing, if it was just a simple act of perhaps this person just fell out of love with you for a little bit and they weren't as interested anymore and they're now suddenly more interested again, because perhaps maybe you over pursued, perhaps you were too needy, but you've now learned, your ways basically, you've learned from your mistakes, then that's obviously a good sign that you should probably get back with your ex if you've made those kinds of mistakes. However, don't get back with someone who's been mean to you, who's been nasty to you, who's cheated on you, who's disrespected the relationship. Don't get back with someone who is basically been really cold to you. Don't be with someone like that. Don't try and get that person back. But if this is a genuinely nice person, and perhaps it was just like a miscommunication thing, or perhaps they just stopped being attracted to you for whatever reason, and now they are starting to be more attracted to you, then obviously that's someone who you want to have back in your life. If you know this person is a good person, you really love them, and they're a nice, decent human being, and you feel like being with them, you grow more, you become a better version of yourself, then that's great. However, if when you're around this person you become toxic, you two bicker and argue, and it just feels like a really draining environment, and there's arguments, and it just feels really, really toxic, then this is someone you don't want to get back with. So make sure that you really have some inner reflection and actually take a hard, serious look at that relationship. And if it was good, and if this is a nice person, then sure, try to reattract them. But if they're not, if they're toxic and the whole thing was just really, really like a bad environment, then don't get back with that person. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video on the signs on how to know if your ex wants to come back. If you would like to get in contact with me, if you would like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. On the shop page of that website, you'll be able to find a free PDF, which is basically a dating and relationship manual. You can get it completely for free. And if you do read it, and if you have any feedback for me, or if you want me to add something to that PDF, then please let me know so I can make it the best product possible for those people that want it. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you guys again very soon. Goodbye, guys.